Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be doing a rough overview of the collaboration characters, how the solo leveling collab went. Of course, now the collaboration is gone, we are now starting with the summer update, which also we have some really cool news from an insider who's able to share some information with us. That'll be at the end of the video, but yeah, some cool information, it's good stuff, looks very positive for the game, which is quite nice to hear after this most recent collaboration. But firstly, let me just immediately show you all the raw data. Here we go. This is a spreadsheet I was keeping with basically how they performed. As you can see top right as well, I also go over their free-to-play rating, which is the rating I gave them. For Char, I gave her a rating of 9 out of 10, solely because the difference between 1.6 and 6.6 is about 6% basic stats, which it's not much in the scheme of things. It's not really that big. You know, if you're 1.6 and I have 6.6, 6% base stats, it might be, you know, the difference between winning and losing, but overall it's not really too big of an increase. Her ultimate is super free to play. Let me show you what I mean by that. It doesn't change. The only thing that increases is the multiplier. At 1.6 you still gain the 3 stacks of glory, you still do all the same damage. The only thing that's different is the multiplier, but still it is a very powerful ultimate even at 1.6. Can I downscale the passive? I can downscale the passive. As you can see here, with 7% basic stats, turns into 5%. You're only losing 6% basic stats in total, which isn't too bad. You know, even if you're 2.6, you're only losing out on 3% basic stats, which is crazy. And if you're 5.6 and above, you've got the maximum basic stats. That's why I gave her a free-to-play rating of 9 out of 10, because it's not 10 out of 10. You know, it's not like there's no difference in our passive between, you know, 1.6 and 6.6. It is still, I guess, somewhat noticeable, and could be the difference between you winning and losing a game, but it is not insane like Biru's or Sung Jin-woo's, which is actually kind of crazy. Her once again was given a 10. Sung Jin-woo, so let's just go to him here. Here he is. I gave him a free-to-play rating of 9 in total, which is basically just the 2 added up divided by 2. His ultimate got a 10, and his passive got an 8. So his passive got an 8. I was thinking of lowering it to a 7, but it is what it is, sort of thing. The reason I gave his ultimate a 10 out of 10, solely because the only thing that goes up is the multiplier. Once again, nothing else gets increased. There is no increased effect. There is nothing like that. Nothing gets increased, nothing gets decreased. The debuff doesn't become grey at 6.6. It's still a red debuff at 6.6. So there was no reason for me to give it anything lower than a 10, because it's basically the exact same thing. Passive, on the other hand, I gave it an 8, solely because, once again, at 1.6, you've got, like, what have you got? At 1.6, you don't have the 50% damage reduction, and you only do 30% additional damage. At 2.6, you still do a 30% additional damage, but you have a 50% damage cap. At 3.6, it's now 40% additional damage. At 4.6, it's 45%. 5.6 is 50%, and 6.6 is 50%. So it's still a decent increase. Once again, 30% to 50%, but it's not like Lance, for example, where it feels a lot more, you know, 100% damaging, 100% like death damage from an AoE is pretty impactful compared to 1.6. So that was sort of my comparison, as I was comparing him to Lance, which is the only other character that sort of has like a death damage effect tied to their passive. Of course, unless you want to say Escanor, who technically has a death effect. Literally, he dies and you get a debuff and you lose health because of it. But that can be cleansed. This cannot be cleansed. This is death damage. Of course, he does have to have the Bloodlust debuff, so once again, it's not really stupidly impactful. For example, for PvE, so the reason why overall he actually performed quite badly is because in PvE most content is immune to debuffs, which is sort of what he wanted for his infect weak point skill, and to also inflict his death damage he required that debuff to be applied, which was sort of a little bit iffy. But apart from that, let me just bring this up again. Apart from that, it was okay. Biru actually scored the worst in terms of free to play. His ultimate got given a 10 because, once again, it's just got normal ultimate scaling, so you got normal damage increase and then a slight attack related stat increase, which is normal, which is basically what every single ultimate has in this game when it comes to just normal attack related stat boost ultimates, which is the reason why I left out 10, because it's just a standard sort of thing. It's a single target, so, you know, it's not like buffing his entire team with 50% attack related stats or 30% attack related stats if you're 1.6, and then doing insane AoE damage. It is just a buff on himself and then doing, you know, the damage. He's realistically going to one-shot anyway because he is quite powerful, and this is a single target effect with pierce rate, spike, and a 540% multiplier at 1/6, which is still pretty crazy. Plus, he's got like a 105% single target damage increase from his passive. Yeah, he's going to be killing you in a single shot, unless of course you got res, but then that's a whole different story. And then, of course, the reason why he scored, I think, a 7.5, oh, no, not the wrong thing. The reason he scored a 7 on his passive is because of the revive, solely because of the revive. He revives 40%. Nope. I accidentally clicked off it. 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 100%. That is the reason why, because sometimes that can be the difference between winning a game and losing a game. But that is really it. Is the revive can be so impactful, especially if, like, for example, on a game mode like Hero Arena, right, where you cannot have a revive, or so you can't have Retamio. So normally, let's just say, realistically, like, okay, it doesn't matter if Beru dies even at 1/6. You know, you got Retamio on him in PvP. If someone kills him, they're probably going to kill him with a super powerful move. Let's say a melee single target skill does like 2 million damage. You're going to heal like 300k back. Let's just say 400k from Retamio plus the revive amount as well. You're probably going to full heal. But when you're in a game mode like Hero Arena, you don't have the luxury of having Retamio, which is the reason why I docked down a few points. Apart from that, he's generally a good character, though. Bear in mind, he scored the lowest on the free-to-play scale. He actually, overall performance wasn't too bad. So if you're wondering what the overall, where it says overall, bottom right, that is the free-to-play rating plus the performance rating divided by 2. So as you can see, who got the best was Char. If we look at her stats, which is basically the first row top left, in Bird she got 10, that's floors 1 to 3. In Deer she got 8 because it's sort of iffy. She wants to have single targets and she wants to have humans, and there's not really many good humans. I got 2 single target skills, but she still performed decently well. Dog she was immaculate on. Rat she was really good on. Demon King incredible, one of the best Demon King characters in the game at the moment. Bird floor 4 not applicable, didn't use her on there. I didn't sort of test a team with her on it, but it was more or less, didn't really have much synergy, it didn't really work too well. I still was able to do it in the end, but I wouldn't recommend it and I wouldn't really make a video on it. Event bosses, I gave her a 10 solely because in the future, once again, she puts out insane single target damage, and that is what you want to see on event bosses, is the ability to just nuke someone turn 1, and that's what I believe she have the ability to do. And in PvP I gave her a 9 out of 10 solely because she was good. Once again, she's got problems. Oh, that's Suicidalist. She's got a few problems, but that's generally what every character has. But I feel like she's definitely not as good as Song Jin-woo, and she's a little bit better than Beru because she has buff removal, which can be pretty handy, especially when characters like Hell have revive. You know, you've got damage cap with the fairy team and all that kind of stuff as well. She's pretty decent. Jinwoo, or Song Jin-woo, got a 9 on Bird. He was okay, but later floors he sort of required debuffs. Deer he got a 7 because, once again, it was debuff immune, and he doesn't really work too well because he's a dark character as well. Dogs he wasn't too bad. Once again, he relied on debuffs, and the only debuffs he could really apply was to the inactive dog. When both dogs are active, he couldn't really apply debuffs, which was pretty mediocre. Rat, he wasn't bad. Once again, you can apply some debuffs to it, so his damage was still half decent, but it required you to play one of the either bleed, poison, or shock, which in some circumstances you don't really want to do because you don't really want to move him. For Demon King, he was okay. Once again, you can't really apply debuffs, but it is what it is. So I think he was still quite decent. His damage was still quite there. I'll probably actually change Beru to a 9 for Demon King, but I'll keep it on the board as a 7 at the moment. Once again, Bird Floor 4 was not applicable because he's not really built for that, I'm not going to lie. Event bosses, I gave him a 7. Once again, he's got Cleave. Some bosses, that's good for some bosses, but once again, he needs debuffs, which isn't the best, and I just feel like there's many other choices you could pick that would be much better. PvP I gave him a 10. Once again, AoE infect with weak point, crazy damage, insane single target damage, the actual ability to lower enemy stats, give yourself damage reduction, a damage cap, the whole level up system gives him 120% damage increase when it's maxed out, and a 30% basic stat boost. It's crazy, he's really good, and I feel like he will be on human teams for quite a while, as either, you know, if he gets downgraded to just a support character, that's still crazy because he's still got the debuffs. He has infect, which is, once again, one of the most broken debuffs in the game, the ability to stop Red Tarmiel, or once again, even revives, like Beru. But yeah, it's really good. Beru performed decent on some of the 1-hit so Bird, once again, 10 out of 10. He was actually really good. Really, really good on Bird. Even floor 4, he was still very good. Deer, he's an unknown, so he worked quite well with the current unknown team. Dogs, still quite good, insane single target damage, getting damage cap with every hit. Rat, once again, insanely good damage, even for a team that doesn't really fully boost him. You know, he's got full team of unknowns. He was still really, really, really good. On to Demon King, he was okay. But once again, he does sort of require to be set up, which is it's not the best, right? When I could run Song Ji-woo or Cha on a human team, which is my normal like, insane damage team, you have to sort of make a whole separate team just to support him. And I think if there was maybe some better unknown support characters, instead of once again they try and play the support DPS role, like somebody's got a decent cleanse skill, so I don't have to use Shuna, because Shuna's how old, like 2 and a bit years old, maybe a little bit more than that. She's not cut out for it anymore, unfortunately. On to event bosses. Sorry, not event bosses. Floor 4 Bird, incredible. Honestly, he is, I would say, a really good replacement if you don't own like green tier or Lolly Merlin, Lolly Merlin. He's a really good replacement for that. Event bosses, okay. Once again, there's not really good unknown teams. Once you probably can make one, right? Realistically, you can probably make one. It does take him a few turns to get his passive up, which is the reason why I didn't score him super high. If you could immediately turn 1 stop the 105% damage increase, crazy, absolutely crazy, and you probably would have scored better. PvP, he's okay. Once again, Cha and Song Ji-woo basically complete counter. You can remove the buffs with Cha's skill. You can infect Beru, so the revive doesn't even really matter because of the infect, and it's okay. But overall, when it came to just the general score, Cha got number 1 with a 9.54. Then it was actually Beru with 8.75, and the worst rated character was the main character with 8.57. But once again, Ji-woo may have, performed really badly in PvE, but PvP he excels, and that's where you got to sort of realize it that okay, he's not really cut out for PvE. But PvP, he could really excel, and that's sort of what he was sort of designed for. Cha was sort of given the grace of being quite decent in PvP, having a decent card set, but also being an insane single-target DPS, which is what PvE sort of wants, or most of what it be sort of want. And then Beru, once again, it's okay in PvP. I feel like maybe like Chaos Mode PvP is where he might excel, but then he'll probably appear in every niche piece of content every now and again. But yeah, that's really it. Discussing when it comes to me reviewing these characters in this update. The general events of this update, not gonna lie, kind of mediocre. This ant cave thing, they hyped it up. It was pretty boring, I'm not gonna lie. It was really boring, in fact. You just sort of, I don't know, put characters in it, wait a few hours, come back, cool, it's done. If you have the collaboration characters and they're on that I don't know, square, it ended up taking half the time. But my only problem really was that new players who do not have characters that are regularly available, for example, catastrophes. Let's say you started in this update, you basically can't get any catastrophe characters because they haven't released any or haven't given you access to any, and they're not regularly available in the SR tickets or the SR tickets or even the human tickets. Right? They're not not a single one are available, and that is a problem. But apart from that, it wasn't too bad. And I hope they do sort of more unique events tied to collaborations in the future. Just sort of make the most of a collab, sort of make it memorable, because that's what collabs are meant for. Standard bingo event, the Ant Boss Beru was okay. Nothing crazy there. I don't like the fact you had to remove the stance to remove the damage cap. That was something I didn't really like. This Hawk's Awesome Treasure event lasted a week. Why not make it last for 2 weeks? It's not even that good anyway. Realistically, it's was it like a 3 or 5% chance to get diamonds, something like that. It's not really that broken. Apart from that, the event was just pretty standard. Nothing super crazy. The characters themselves are okay. The rates, oh my god, don't get me started on the rates. Absolutely horrendous. All I'm going to say is, Netmarble, if you are somehow seeing this video, which I doubt you are, make them 0.33. I know it's not really a big of an increase, but having, a 33% chance to get a character is better than having a 25% chance to getting the character. And, it just makes them easier to obtain. It's a collaboration, right? And most of these collaboration characters, well, in recent collaborations, sort of require you to get high dupes to max out their passive. I know you could argue that characters like Millum have this, but Millum, I think, after you reach a limit of getting like 3 or 4 dragon rampage stacks, you don't need any more. Getting 5 or getting 6, right? Which is you can get 6 dragon rampage stacks at 6/6 Millum. When are you ever going to be able to obtain 6 stacks? They've not made any content at the moment where it is possible to obtain 6 stacks of her passive. Every time she plays a skill, she loses a stack, right? So you'd have to kill like 3 enemies, 3 enemies, and 3 enemies. You have to kill them all with an AoE skill just to get it. Like, that's what I mean. So it's kind of overkill, not really needed. But generally not too bad. The banner itself was pretty decent. They didn't make it horrendous. You know, putting characters like Green Camilla, Green Sigurd, Baldur, Gelder. You know, all these characters are pretty good. Of course, there are a few, you know, crappy ones they have to put in there, but they've got to at least put a little bit of filler in there so it's not too broken. Because, of course, we have an upcoming festival that releases next week. And today, of course, is the final day you can summon. I'm recording this the day before, so as you were seeing this video, you were no longer able to summon this collab, and it is gone. But generally, it was an okay collab. The rerun's going to be quite tricky. I don't know who they're going to add, but, you know, they'll find a way. They have original characters in the Solo Leveling Arise game, so they can pick from that, even though I'm pretty sure this is a collab with the anime. So we'll have to see what they add in the future. But anyway, that is it of that part. Now we're going to talk about some future news. I guess, what we've recently been told. An employee of Netmarble has shared with us some lovely information that they are allowed to share. Firstly, that there are, in the last 20 days, the player base has grown by 15%. The game has set records in basically every department, and now basically future updates, future collabs, bigger teams, it's got more people on it, more bigger updates, and apparently this next update that drops next week, not tomorrow, next week, is going to be a somewhat big update. We do know there will be one event boss, which is not the Enduro, for what it's called now. The boss where you could do the glitch with that blue summer melon and you can get like so many points. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. It's the 4-man boss. The 4-man like actual player where you can invite people boss. Which is okay. Once again, I'll have a video on it, I have videos on that kind of stuff. I think the next, apparently it's like a sin or some sort of actual song from the 7DS story. It's not no one to do with you know, it's no original characters from the game, which is okay. You know, some people quite, you know, dislike the original characters. I personally don't mind them myself. But also, probably some of the best news we've gotten that this person has shared with us is that these next upcoming collabs, they believe, will set and break records that Netmarble currently have with collaborations, and probably even with this solo leveling collab. So that is something to look out for. Once again, we're not sure if they're going to stick to the normal collaboration cycle, since, you know, they've broken it this year already. But we have to wait and see. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.